most industries, women tend to, want to wear suits and act more like a man in order to prove a point. And for me, I'm very much a female. I love my jewelry. I love looking pretty. I love being, the doors open for me and my water being served by a man. And, men stand up in a room when I come in because that's respect.
Hello, Asil. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Fatima. Nice to have you with me. Lovely. Pleasure to be with you.
I am super excited for this one because I know that we'll get a lot of value for our Muslim women
Inshallah.
watching or listening, inshallah. So I'm super excited. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you for hosting me. I'm excited to be with you and supporting your fantastic initiative. Well done.
Awesome. So let people know more about you, something that we can't read online, even if you have like an extensive bio. Tell us who is Asil?
Well, Asil is an incredibly private person, very much an introvert extrovert, with a great separation between her work and her career and her personal life. So a lot of people assume that because I'm sort of out there in terms of my career, that I'm also out there from a personal perspective. It's quite the opposite. So I'm an incredibly private person. And I think one of my greatest characteristics is my sort of compassion and humility. So that's the real Asil.
So we're lucky that you are on with us today.
No, the pleasure is mine.
To be able to listen to you, I'm really happy. And I always say, nothing happens by coincidence. I'm really like a believer of, it's the right time, the right place. So, and the right person,
sure.
100%.
For sure.
Now that you gave us a taste of who you are, let's jump into, the struggles and the challenges. You've had an extensive, professional career. What are your three, biggest challenges that you can think about that you encountered in your own career?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think, Fatima, for me, I don't ever see it as a challenge. It's always converted into an opportunity. So let's call it opportunities from now on. I think that's much more exciting for people and much more motivational for them. So, we always say with every challenge comes opportunity. So, for me, of course, having had such a long career, over 30 years now in fashion and retail, and so, on a global perspective. So, of course, I've encountered many different, challenges, like you said. And really, I don't relate any of them to the fact that I'm actually a woman. I've never taken that as this is, something that's going to make my, opportunities lesser. I've never thought of it like that. It's what I faced is pretty much what a lot of people, men and women, go through, and that is, you work hard, and sometimes you have successes, and sometimes you're not so successful, and sometimes you really want something desperately and you think it's the right place for you, and then it isn't. And it's like they say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khayrun lakum, right? So asa an tahibbu shay'an wa huwa sharrun lakum. So my life has been guided by my faith and my belief, and ensuring that everything that I do is driven by that and God's will. So for me, I think the challenges have been really all the learnings that I've had over and the different people that I've encountered. So having to deal with so many different people in this industry, so many characters, and sometimes you are entrusting to people and they let you down.
Yeah,
I think this is a very overall general challenge where, in the beginning, when you start your career, you're very naive and overly trusting. And as you grow in your career, you learn to, very much be able to have much more heightened emotional intelligence, and you're able to gauge, what is the people around you that surround you, what are the right people that then inspire you to continue. So I think, that's been one of my biggest learnings, is how to sort of read people and how to navigate, situations. And then, of course, the other one is, yes, absolutely, being, an empowered woman, you know, in an all male dominated industry is always one that's challenging, because they assume that you're very emotional. They assume that you're very reactive. They very quickly learn when they, you know, work with me and hire me that I lead with empathy. Of course, I think with my heart, but I act with my head, you know, and I'm very much about proving rather than challenging. So, you know, when you come across people who say, well, you're female, you know, you don't really understand numbers and you really don't know how to do this and that, they make these pre-assumptions, and rather than react and get you know, emotional about it, I actually just prove it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when businesses see their, you know, when the board and businesses see that their you know, the bottom line and their net profits are doubling and tripling exponentially, that very quickly makes them very quiet, you know, and they eat humble pie, like we say, you know. So of course, you know, having to sort of carry my weight. And having said that, I've never changed the person that I am. You know, I always expect to be treated as a woman. So it's very interesting, because I'm often in an industry where, you know, most industries, women tend to, you know, want to wear suits and act more like a man in order to prove a point. And for me, I'm very much a female. I love my jewelry. I love looking pretty. I love being, you know, the doors open for me, and my water being served by a man. And, you know, men stand up in a room when I come in, because that's respectful and that's how I like to be treated. But the second I'm in my, you know, role, then obviously you command the respect through the knowledge that you have, and not by what you're wearing, right? So people should not be judging you based on your appearance, but on your intellect, you know. So these are the challenges that you come across as well in terms of being female. And then really, you know, obviously for me, you know, the greatest challenge is making sure that, like I said earlier, every decision I make is the right one, because as a CEO, you know, of businesses, you are the sole responsibility of that organization, and every decision you make is going to affect hundreds of people. And so therefore, you know, when I first became CEO many years ago, that was a huge learning for me, because it was an immediate realization that you are now, you know, people aspire to become CEO and become the, you know, the head of the game, but they don't realize the tremendous amount of responsibility that comes from holding these positions. You know, it's not all very fluffy at the top and you get privileges and you sit in big fancy offices. Actually, the stress is, you know, quite extreme. You have, you know, your teams, your business that you're responsible for, your shareholders, your stakeholders. Every decision you make, you are accountable for. So, you know, the higher you are in your career, the bigger the stress and pressure and responsibility that you have. So people, you know, need to recognize that. And of course, you know, my challenge was navigating through that pressure and trying to keep, you know, my sanity, really, when you're making these vast decisions. But that's why it's a lot about, you know, who I surround myself by and the people that I work with. So to sum it up, I think, you know, it's in the beginning, like I said, of your career, you think you know everything, but you don't. So you learn very quickly. You don't know what you don't know, like my husband always says. And you learn to, you know, learn to manage people. That was my biggest learning. And then the second part is, you know, gaining that authority and respect as a female in a male dominated industry. And the third one is understanding the role and responsibility you have when you reach a, you know, a bigger position, basically.
You sum it up, you know, really well. I got from you in what you said is, you know, trust, responsibility, and the resilience that you built, and the power that you're just saying, you know, I'm saying myself in regarding I am a CEO or another position, but I am a feminine. I don't have to be a man. And I already had this discussion with another, you know, women. We don't want to be men, you know, in the workplace. We don't want to take their place. But this is so powerful what you said. And I want to know where this comes from. And from what I heard in different podcasts, it has a lot to do with your childhood. So if you can, share that with us, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it. It's the influence of my mother and father are my greatest inspirations, Allah yarhamhum. And so I learned, the power of a couple and what that meant, and how they both had an equal role. My father was an incredible human being, and incredibly discreet and humble, and everything he taught us, as we were growing up, no matter how little we had, there's always someone less fortunate than us, and to always give, those are the values both my mother and father raised us in. But also as a household, my father was empowered. He was, a very successful businessman, Allah yarhamah, a pioneer for solar energy. And, from a young age, we understood about the environment and how to respect it. And, watched him, champion in the 70s and, in the 80s, where nobody spoke about environment or solar energy or nature and the power of, so, and then equally, my mother was, working professional. She always had a job ever since she was 16, and therefore, she worked and then also raised a family, and together they really kind of, supported each other. And my father was very supportive, very, modern in his approach, that my mother, works and also educates herself. And they both graduated, from the US. And so very much growing up with that kind of mentality and seeing my mom as an empowered, mother, as well as, a working woman, was hugely influential. And then together, as a team, they were remarkably amazing, with their values and with their faith. And, we just grew up with constant, by default, right? Naturally, they showed us. So as we were saying, I sort of grew up and they were leading by example, so we saw them be charitable. We saw them, with incredible faith. We saw them making a difference all the time, and that was really amazing for us as children to watch. And sort of by default, of course, you learn to pick up all of these traits. And then, the greatest thing I think both my parents had was, their extreme humility. I think, one thing that they taught us is no matter what you have and what you achieve, you always stay grounded, and you always, make sure that with that, you constantly give back, So these are the things that have, kept me, I guess it's not resilient, but resilience I have because of faith, right? Because you just learn to understand that it's faith that guides you. And sometimes, like I said, when you think, you quite, you're sitting there thinking, why did I not get this job? Or why am I, why I should have done this, and maybe I could have done that. But actually it's just meant to be, and there's a reason why you did the things you do, and you have to learn to sort of accept them and move on and learn from them. I think that's the greatest thing, Fatima, is if you have your self-awareness is something that is like the most important ingredient. Like I said, the more successful you become, if you have heightened self-awareness, well, there you go. That will by default keep you grounded, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Because if you know your faults, then you're in a great place. You're in a great place, So I know my faults, every single one of them. So, and that's why I'm grounded, because I know, that even though I worked hard, and that's why I achieved, through hard work, through merit, but I also know that, nobody's perfect, and you just have to, you keep on trucking, like they say. But I think humility comes from self-awareness, definitely. And that's what my parents taught me as well.
I love that. And thank you for confirming that, because coming from you with your experience and, just your life journey, it's so important to confirm that. And I always say it starts with self-awareness, right? That's the first step, because as your husband said, and I say it a lot also, you don't know what you don't know. So the first step is always to identify the patterns, identify the opportunities, and then you can improve them. You can change whatever needs, change and transformation. But I love that you said that, and it is so true. And again, we reinforcing that 100%, because if you accept who you are, your strength and your weaknesses, so you're not afraid, of like making a mistakes or just, playing a role that you're not, and you learn faster
Yeah,
when you know all of
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
And also you have to be very open to critiquing, you have to
Yes.
learn. And of course, when you're young,
Mm,
that's very difficult, when
it's
someone
really
is
hard.
trying to, you like I said, you think you know it all. And when someone is criticizing you, you take it very personally and to heart. And of course, as you grow as a person and you mature,
Mm,
you understand the difference between, constructive criticism and just plain blatant people that want to put you down. You learn to recognize, so you sharpen your skills to listen
yes.
to the right critiquing and really absorb it and really learn from it. And that's why I'm a great advocate for coaching and mentoring,
Mm.
because if you find the right mentor who is open and honest and direct, and if you in turn are open to having that critiquing, then you're in a good space.
Mm. Can you share with us your mentoring experience that you had? Because I really feel it's powerful for people to understand the power of mentorship. I also have multiple mentors because, you need an example. You need a fixed destination, right, to go towards to. And if you're with someone that really did the journey, went through the path, you're learning from him. It's got to get
Yeah.
faster, and and I won't say easier because you still have to do the work, but it's, you have someone as a support and as a guidance, and it's so important, for us. And we kind of lost that in this, day and age, where we lost the village mentality, like I was saying, learning from the elders. And this is something that you want to do and improve on, and I'm like 100% all with that. But like, share with us your mentoring experience, because I think people will find value.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, it may come as a surprise to you, even though I have mentored and coached for 15 years, I have never had a mentor. And that is why I'm so passionate, because had I, maybe things would have been different, maybe not,
Mm,
I don't know. But I didn't actually have a mentor. Back in the day, that wasn't something. Now you spoken about all the time.
yeah.
30 years ago, nobody sat down and said, find a mentor, get coaching. It just wasn't part of how society was or how we were. We just
Mm,
learned. We were, if you were intelligent enough to learn from everyone around you, and like you said, that village mentality where you learn from your elders. I mean,
yeah.
that's how we were raised, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, when you're raised knowing to respect your elders and to learn from your elders, then that is by indirect mentoring. And so
Yes.
therefore, the mentors that I've had throughout my career have been, the chairmen of the organizations, the leaders of the organizations that I have gone through. And let me tell you something, often it was great mentoring by indirect, by watching them and seeing
Yes.
how they, were to other people and the things that they did. And then also watching the ones that I would sit there and think, I'm never going to be like that. I never want to be that kind of person.
Mm,
I am learning what not to do. And so that's how my mentoring was. I had some great examples and I had some not so great examples, and both of them I was really open and
yeah.
really paying attention to their leadership style, their management style, their engagement style. And, like I said, making sure that I did or I did not do what I was learning. So
Mm,
that's how I got my coaching and mentoring. But then as I sort of grew in my career, I recognized how much I was influencing people,
yeah.
directly or indirectly as well. And so from that, naturally, I wanted to, share that knowledge, and I'm passionate about knowledge transfer. And, so therefore I've been coaching and mentoring for, 15 years throughout my career. And that's just part of my leadership style. And whether you're working with me or we've just met, I always mentor students, and I do internships in my
Mm,
companies. And that's because I believe truly, that is a incredible tool. And like I said, I wish I did have that mentor back then, who I might have asked them certain things and they would have hopefully, maybe steered me in a different direction. But at the
yeah.
end of the day, still very proud and have learned even from the big mistakes that I did, but yeah, it's very important to have that. And mentorship, people throw that word around, and people don't understand. Being a mentor, it's a two-way commitment,
Yes.
it's not having an individual that you have to listen to that just tells you how incredible they are or their stories. It is a two-way where you're being mentored by the individual that you're mentoring. It's you're learning
Yeah.
and also they are learning, and together and it's about, building trust, and it's about having brutally honest conversation,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
It is a
that,
relationship.
yeah, and it's a commitment. And so, I'm always saying to people that coaching is different,
Yeah.
but I'm always saying to people, if you want to be a mentor, then you have to be fully committed. It's not something as a pastime.
Yes, 100%. Oh la la, that's great. This is what I wanted people to really get, because again, you can go for having a personal relationship with someone as a mentor, but if you don't have that opportunity, because many people say, well, I don't have anybody around me, but now with the internet, with instant access to all these, great successful people, even through books, you just
Mhm.
observe and learn from their
Yeah.
experience, and like, how does it relate to your life, and how can I implement some of these things to make myself and my career better. So it's amazing, and I love that you had this experience and the opportunity for you to share it with all of us.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
really
that's
powerful.
why, I set up, obviously, that's why, I, set up and built Turban Thinkers
Yes.
precisely for that, because, we live in an age where, of course, through social media, it's a big part of everybody's life. And, this concept of following, following. Unfortunately, not everyone that you follow is actually a leader.
Yes.
So it's quite an interesting irony in the fact that yes, you are following, but from my old school perspective, when you follow someone, it is a leader that you're learning from.
Mm-hmm.
And so for today, you're following crazy stuff, crazy stuff, and
Yeah.
and not necessarily really learning the right thing from it. So for me, after such a long career, it was very important for me to sort of channel that and bring it to a place, a one-stop shop, where you're not just following one person. You get the opportunity to listen to, hundreds of different, leaders, true leaders, inspirational figures,
Mm.
and empowered individuals that, on Turban Thinker, my platform, come together, share their stories, talk about their journeys, their challenges, and instead of following, like I said, the one person, you get to listen and
Yeah.
follow many different people, and learn from all their experience. Yeah.
And we're super excited about the platform. When is it coming up and
So
live?
inshallah, inshallah, in a couple of weeks' time, we're hoping that will be launching. And, I'm very excited because it's like a 360 experience where you get to, watch the interviews that I host, you get to listen to the podcasts that I do, and you get to, read, because we have a really cool, magazine as well.
Mm.
And then we have a really beautiful sort of uh, .com, as in a shop part, where you get to experience a handful of curated brands that I've so passionate about, which talk about social responsibility,
Yeah.
which is something I've been involved in for 15 years or so. And so we talk about slow fashion. The products are all about preserving artisans and crafts and helping build communities. So really like beautiful pieces that we've selected, and they're
Mm.
all sort of limited edition and one-off pieces, but they help to go towards artisan and culture preservation. So it's like an all-encompassing, value driven, ethic based, inspirational, hopefully, platform where I invite everyone to just come and just be inspired, and
Yeah.
listen to amazing stories.
I love
We need
that.
that more than ever now, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We need exactly that, and stop, being or running after shiny objects or fake lives. And as you said, there are crazy stuff online. And if you can create that platform with these, real people that have amazing experiences, amazing careers, and like directly learning from them, it's like a wealth of a place, 100%. And mixing it with the ethical, and it's really close to my heart. I also did, my master's in renewables, and in
Nice.
solar. So it's like, if you can make it more efficient, greener, why not? It's like, it's
Exactly.
weird, it's stupid, but we have to change our mindset, and it's happening. The more of us you will have that are spreading that message, that are louder, and the truth comes out anyway, from different
Exactly.
sources. Well,
Mm-hmm.
now what do? Well, we need to change and really take action, and not only talk about it like it was done for the past 10, 20, 30 years. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy that we are having these, I think, powers, like you are, the previous generation, but you had so much experience, so much to teach, and having people that are ready to learn and ready to take action. It's perfect. I mean, I'm super excited for Turban Thinker. So
Yeah,
I'm
me
like
too,
super,
me
super
too. And of
excited.
course, we'd love to continue like working with you on it. I think it's inshallah,
Inshallah.
it's my legacy, right? And
Yeah,
my
yeah.
legacy is to sort of, create social impact. And that's very important for me. And like I said, transfer knowledge and as much of it as I can,
Yes. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's our duty and responsibility to be selfless,
And
So
thank you for
um
doing this, because not everybody wants to do that. So I
it's
really
hard
want to
work, let
thank
me
you.
tell you.
Yeah, yeah, I
Thank
can
you.
imagine at a time where
Yeah,
you're like, well, it's time to relax. No, let's do some more work.
yeah,
So,
no, I mean, it's a lot of work,
yeah,
and a lot of sort of, organizing and planning and all sorts
it's
of stuff.
huge.
But, at the end of the day, if hopefully it does bring that impact
Mm,
that we want and, really help people and really inspire them. Yeah, so it's very cool.
that's awesome.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, we're like finger crossed, and I love that so many of these things are happening really globally. And if we can connect each other, it's like much more powerful, because
Yeah, I
two
mean, it's
brains is
great.
better than one, but
I
like,
mean, we
100 brains
yeah.
is crazy.
Of course. I mean, we met through Noor and Zafir through their
Yes.
change makers, and
Yeah.
that just shows the world is getting smaller than ever. And,
Yes.
through those great events and initiatives, you meet like-minded people, and then
Mm.
that circle just gets, wider and wider, and it's good.
So
Very good.
we talked about your life, your experience, the opportunities that you had, the mentoring. If you could go back in time, you started 30 years ago, and you meet yourself from 30 years ago, what would be one advice you can give to yourself?
I think I definitely would be, listen. So, and that would be really ironic because, I don't even think if I went back and spoke to my earlier self that she would listen.
Yeah.
So, that's the irony because you're so young and you're ambitious. And like I said, I wish someone back there kind of sat me down and said, you don't know what you don't know. You
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
don't, and you have to listen because you just think you're, you sort of, what you're doing and you know what you want, and which is fantastic. You must have ambition.
Yes.
But then also you must recognize, through that will be mistakes made, and you have to, bear the consequence of that and hopefully learn from them. So I think I would definitely, I wouldn't go back and say do anything different other
Mm.
than just try to slow things down and listen.
Yeah.
That would be the greatest advice I'd have given myself back then.
Listen, that's it's so hard, because in your 20s, because I also recognize myself, and you feel like super ambitious and an overachiever. You're like, you have a tons of energy that you just want to spend, and you're like going all in,
Yeah.
and you have little time for reflection. And I feel like you had more reflections than me, so I'm taking also this advice for me. Listen
Yeah.
and
I
slow
mean,
down.
you've got to listen. You've just got, and it's so difficult. You
Mm,
say that it's difficult at this age.
yes.
Nobody wants to listen. They just
Mm,
want to stay. They just want to do, but I
yeah.
think if you just literally take what people are telling you,
Yeah.
and really take it on board, then it will help you tremendously.
Ah, so true.
Yeah.
So everyone that is listening and watching, listen and take
Definitely listen.
notes. Listen.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
for sure.
So, last question. Is there any question that I haven't asked you that you deem it's was important to ask, or it would have made a difference?
I think I've probably been asked, throughout my career, every possible question you can think of. So I think we're pretty good. No, you've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is awesome. I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I'm so happy and excited. You can't imagine to just have met you, because I've been since the last part of last year. I've been looking for these examples of Muslim women that achieved what I want to achieve. And I needed, this energy. I needed to see that they were real, so I can, just learn from them, because there are some things that, very high, successful American white men, don't have on me, and I can't recognize myself in some of them. But it's so powerful. So yeah, there is this part of like mentoring. It's great,
of course.
But I mean, I'm still a woman. I don't want to be a man. I'm a Muslim woman. I want to thrive as a Muslim woman and like build a business. So it's great to have these examples. And I can't wait to bring, more of these women in what I'm building, and like connecting each other to really learn and support and, hold ourselves accountable to just be better, because.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait,
women,
to see how you're sort of progress, and how, your amazing vision comes to light. And I think it's, people like you inspire me to do what I do. And I think it's wonderful, that we represent, strong, empowered Muslim women. And that's, hopefully will become a majority,
yes,
of how the world, sees us. And I think it's a great, great opportunity and a great vision that you have. And I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. Take care of yourself, Asil. Thank you again. And I hope to have you on again. And I'm excited to see Turban Thinker. We're going to share all the links, of course, with the video, so people can go back. And it's going to be, inshallah, live at the end of the month then.
Inshallah. And thank you so much, Fatima, again for having me. I apologize for the connectivity. And then definitely I want to host you on Turban Thinker, because I am certain you have a lot to inspire. So inshallah, I'll host you as well. Speak to you soon. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you.